Hi, morning everyone. Welcome to episode 28 of the Knitting Expat Podcast. My name is Mina and I'm your host today. Just want to say welcome to everybody. Whether you're new or returning viewer, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to hang out with me. Today is Monday the 21st of September and so welcome. Just wanted to say where you can find me. So I said my name is Mina. You can find me on Instagram as Mina Phillip, on Ravelry as Mina86. You can find the podcast group on Ravelry as the Knitting Expat Podcast in the group section. The show notes for this and all other episodes are on knittingexpat.wordpress.com, and you can find me on Periscope as Mina Phillip. I haven't really done anything on Periscope yet, but I'm there if you want to follow me. And I sell project bags on Etsy as Mina Makes, and that's the name of the shop on Etsy. So you can come join me in those places. Come find me there. I've got links to all those places down below in the description box on YouTube, in the episode thread on Ravelry, and on the show notes. So wherever you're watching this video, because those are the three places this video is posted, you can find me on those links. And I just wanted to say a massive thank you to everybody who subscribed to the podcast. We're now over 2,000 subscribers, which is insane. It is absolutely insane. And we're around 850 members in the Ravelry group, which again is insane. But on that note, I have a bit of a giveaway coming up later in this episode for that. So if you are subscribed to the YouTube channel but you're not a member of the Ravelry group yet, go on over and join the Ravelry group, because that's where the giveaway is going to be hosted. Because I still don't know how to do it on YouTube. I can't quite figure out the best way to do that, and the best way for me to be able to do it fairly is to do it on the Ravelry group. So if you want to be eligible to win a prize, win the giveaway, or any other sort of prizes and stuff and giveaways and stuff that I do, you need to be a member of the group for that. Right, moving on. I'm still really behind on podcasts. Every time I think I'm catching up or I'm always caught up, a whole bunch more release new episodes, and so I'm just I'm still struggling to keep up. But I'll get there. I'll get there eventually, and I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who has mentioned me or my podcast or my Etsy store in the last couple of weeks. Really, thank you so much. It means so much to me that you guys would do that, and I've lost track of who said what, when, and in which episode, so I'm sorry that I can't thank you all individually, but know that I am very grateful. And it feels like ages since I've last recorded. It's only been 11 days, because I recorded last week's episode the previous Thursday, so it's been a little over a week. But it feels a bit weird not having recorded for a couple of weeks. So I've just got my notes here with me. And you'll notice I've got a slightly different setup here, background slightly different. I got this new sort of cabinet thing over here from IKEA over the weekend, but more about that later. So I'm sort of reorganizing stuff in here. What was I going to say? I wanted to do a quick shout out to Kai, who's the boyfriend of Julia, who does the Happy Knitting podcast. They're both currently in Vietnam, I believe, on holiday, but Julia mentioned in her last episode, I believe it was, that her boyfriend enjoys watching my podcast. So hi Kai. Thank you very much, and I hope you keep enjoying it. And one last thing, because I am starting to overheat now with this shawl on, I wanted to quickly show you the shawl again, because since getting back from New York, I've been able to reblock it, and this thing is absolutely ginormous. It is huge. This is probably the largest shawl I've ever knit. I don't even know if I can get it all in one shot. So this is the Vida shawl. Don't know what you guys are going to see. There you go. I'm going to do it like that so you can see a bit better. And I reblocked out the points. I'm kind of curling up again because I've been wearing it. But yeah, I have been wearing this actually quite a bit around the house. You can see the leaf pattern there is nice and I love this yarn from Berenbuller. Vicky does some lovely yarn. And it's so soft. I don't have blocking wires, so I had to individually pin out each point. I'm really you know what, I'm incredibly proud of myself for this knitted on border, because I completely came up with this pattern for the border myself. I mean, came up with the whole thing, but it's the first time I've designed something with a knitted on border. And I was quite happy with how it came out. I went through like a few iterations before I settled on something that I was happy with. And I might show you at some point how I sort of went through that design process for this shawl. If you guys are interested, let me know, and I'll do that in a future episode. But just to give you a quick little idea, this is the large size, and there are 2 sizes. The large size uses 3 skeins of yarn, so 2 for the body and 1 for the border. And it can be all in one colour, or you can use a contrast colour for the border, which I like. This large size finishes at 2.3 meters. I do have the conversion into inches on the pattern, but I don't know what that is at the moment off the top of my head. And it's 72 centimeters deep. It is huge. It is basically a hug. It is a giant hug, and one of my favorite ways to wear it, and probably will be one of my favorite ways to wear it, is having the leaf section draped over your shoulders, and then you can have this, if I stand up a bit to show you, cross over the front, and it's actually long enough to tie in the back. And you can just wear it like this. So you've got your hands free, you don't have to worry about ends flying around everywhere, and it keeps you nice and keeps your shoulders warm, keeps your arms warm. So this is great to wear with, like, you know, if you're wearing a dress or something where your arms are open but you don't want to necessarily wear a cardigan. Yeah, and this actually stays put quite nicely, and it comes all the way down. If I adjust it properly, it does pretty much cover my entire back. And I'm a tall person, so on someone shorter or smaller than me, this would be massive, even bigger. So this is the large size. I haven't personally knit the smaller size myself, so I'm not entirely sure what those finished measurements are going to be, but 4 of my testers are knitting the smaller size, so I'm just not going to have time to do it before the pattern is released. So once I have the measurements for that, those will go into the pattern as well. And yeah, so this, I'm hoping to have this released sometime around the 12th-ish of October. So yeah, I'm really happy with this. And just to give you an idea, the skeins I used for this are, they were 400 meters per 100 grams of, it was this 80% merino, 20% nylon. And of the green, I had about 80 meters left, and of the grey I had about 70 meters left. So that gives you an idea. You do use most of the yarn. Yeah, you don't really have much in the way of leftovers at the end, which is good, which is really good. And as for the hat and the socks, well, those patterns are now released. You can now get the Vida hat and the Vida socks from my Ravelry store. So thank you to everyone who's already gone out and purchased. And I have a little something for the rest of you in a little bit. So stay tuned for that. And overheating. Right, guess we will move on to finished objects. Just before we move on to finished objects, when we were in London on our way to New York for a couple of days, my mum gave me this she found in the attic while she was tidying up. And remember I told you last two episodes ago that I was slightly obsessed with pandas, and I shared that post when we were in Macau and we went to see the pandas. Well, I knew I had this, but I completely forgot where it was, and this was from my pre-knitting days. I have a panda hat, and I will put it on just for the hilarity of it. I love this hat, and it's all bobbly and pilly and like horrible looking now because I wore it so much. It's all like sort of coming apart. But I may have to knit myself another one at some point. It's quite clearly machine knit, but I love this thing. Cute little bobbles. So yeah, I may have to make another one to replace it at some point. Right, okay, seriously now onto finished objects. I have 2 pairs of socks, so I only have one of each pair on a blocker to show you, but just to show you, I do have a full pair. I mean, you guys know I have pairs anyway because I always knit my socks 2 at a time. But these are what I'm calling my mistake blueberry waffle socks. And the mistake is because if you know the blueberry waffle pattern, I can't remember who it's by, but it's a free pattern on Ravelry, so I'm not giving anything away. It's 2 rounds knit and 2 rounds knit 2 purl 2. So it's basically a broken rib. But what I ended up doing by mistake was I knit 3 rounds and then did knit 2 purl 2. And frankly, I just couldn't be bothered to rip back, so I just kept going like that. And it was fine, it worked out well. You can't really tell, but that's why I'm calling it my mistake blueberry waffles. And these will be for a gift for one of my friends. So that's fun. And then the second pair of socks I have are Crazy Zalbable socks. This is them on the sock blocker. Sorry, I should have mentioned the yarn for this one is Lana Grossa Fantasy in these colours, can't remember, and it's on 2.5mm needles. I knit this with a Fish Lips Kiss heel. Crazy Zalbable socks. This is also on 2.5mm needles. I've always knit my Crazy Zalbable socks on 2.25mm needles, and I wanted to see what the fabric looked like on 2.5. It looks pretty good. I quite like it. And I also find that knitting on 2.5mm needles is just easier on my hands. I like the fabric I get with 2.25, especially on the finer sock yarns, and I'll probably still use them. But it does hurt my hands quicker, so 2.5 is just a bit easier on my hands. And these will be for my brother for Christmas, I believe. And this is the other one. I don't know if I showed that one up. So again, 2.5mm with a Fish Lips Kiss heel, just plain vanilla. 20 rows, 2x2 rib at the top for these ones. And that's basically, other than the shawl, which I finished the day we got to New York, because I pretty much finished the edging on the plane. These 2 pairs of socks are what I knit in the 1 week we were in New York. I have to say, it's probably the first time I've knit 2 pairs of socks in 1 week. Even for me, that's insane, and really fast. But yeah, it was weird. It just went by really quickly, and they were easy to knit, and it was great for traveling because I didn't have to worry about, you know, finishing a row. I mean, I always like try to finish a row before I stop, but it wasn't like a shawl where you have like hundreds of stitches and you suddenly have to stop in the middle and lose where you are. So it was easy knitting for when I was traveling. And trying to think what else. And I didn't actually think I'd get that much time to knit while I was away, and I didn't feel like I had that much knitting time, but I guess I did. I must have. So the Crazy Zalbable socks I finished on the flight to London from New York, and so for the flight from London back to Bahrain, I didn't really have anything else to knit, and most of my stuff was already packed away, and the only thing I'd left out was a ball of the sugar and cream, the cotton, the dishcloth cotton that I bought and showed you guys last week from Michael's. Sorry, I've got like fluff on my face now. So first thing I knit was this leaf dishcloth. I found a pattern for a leaf dishcloth online. I'll link it in the show notes. I just can't remember who it was by. Yeah, it was Lily Sugar and Cream. So I did this on 4mm needles. I quite like the pattern. I like it being in stockinette, but I'm not entirely sure because the increases and decreases in the pattern don't really mirror very nicely. So I'm not entirely sure how I feel about the look of that one. Then there was a plain garter stitch version, which I did, and that turned out okay. Again, the increases and decreases kind of make it look a bit funny, but I added a little crochet loop once we got back, just so I'd have something to hang it from, because I think this would be quite good as like a washcloth in the shower or something. So I added the little loop to hang it in the shower. And I think I might use this one as like a face cloth or something because it's a bit smoother, it's not as rough. And then I did a granny's favourite dishcloth pattern, dishcloth out of the leftovers. And I still actually had a lot left over, but that's how that turned out. And I haven't actually tried them out yet as dishcloths or washcloths or anything to see how they are, but considering how many people love using these as dishcloths and washcloths, I think this should be pretty good. I still have the purple ball to use, so yeah, that's pretty much my finished objects for this last week. And yeah, I guess we will move on to works in progress. First up, in one of my Mina Makes bags. Actually, all my projects are in Mina Makes bags at the moment. And this is one of my medium-sized bags. This is housing my Dewdrops shawl, and this is by Bex Hopkins. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. It's one that I'd found a while ago and had earmarked as something I'd wanted to make, but I just never got round to it. This is a picture of what it will look like. Sorry, my printer was going a bit funny with the lines. It needed something to be adjusted. That's kind of what it looks like. I am knitting this with this beautiful yarn, which I'm going to grab the tag to show you. It's dye-free yarn, 100% tussar silk. It's dye-free yarn, 100% tussar silk in the Hot Desire colourway. And you can see I reweighed it and calculated the yardage again based on the actual weight. So the skein was a little bit heavy. It was 107 grams rather than just 100. So I have a bit more meterage on that, which is great. Oh, geez, there it is. And yeah, so how beautiful is that? Oh, and I got a new ball winder when I was in the US. I'll explain more about that later, but I love the cakes it's making. It is so squishy. It is. This is a little bit squishy now because it's I've been pulling from the center. But I love the cakes it makes. And if we get this untangled, I am knitting this shawl on 3.75mm needles on my highs. And this is where I'm at. Not very far, but yeah, I'm just in the plain stockinette section at the moment. And based on my extra yardage, I can actually do more of the stockinette before moving on to the lace section to make it slightly larger. The pattern actually gives you stitch counts for when you can start each chart, so you can adjust the size of the shawl based on how much meterage you have, and it's written for both lace and fingering weight. So I'm doing mine in lace weight, like I mentioned. I want to knit with all the lace weight now, so I think I'm going to try and have a lace weight project on the needles all the time, at all times. So yeah, that's that project. I'm really enjoying it. It's really it's fun at the moment. It's relatively mindless. Yeah, just easy to knit. And my next project is the Summertide Mystery Knit Along by Helen Stewart of Curious Handmade Podcast. And I'm not sure whether or not I should show the shawl. I'll show it crumpled up like this, so it's not really giving anything away, because I'm almost finished with the second clue. I'm about 7 rows from finishing the second clue, and this is how the colours knitting up so far. I am knitting this using Madeline Tosh Light. It's my first time using Madeline Tosh yarn, and I'm loving it. I totally get what the hype is all about. And I am using the colourways Cove, which is this beautifully subtly variegated sort of beachy colours, I would say. It's interesting because in some lights it looks more green and in other lights it looks more blue, and it's got hints of like sort of brown and beige and stuff in there, and it's really pretty, and I think it knits up beautifully. This is the sort of plain section. You see the subtle variegation of colour, and I know the pattern says it's not suitable for variegated yarns, but I think that's subtly variegated enough that it won't make a difference or won't matter so much. And this is the other yarn. This is I'm using, which is Candlewick, which is blown out quite a bit there. I think that's better for the colour. It's this beautiful rich yellow shade. Like if I had to pick my favourite shade of yellow, this would be it. It's this golden yellow. It's not orange, it's not too orange, but it's not so neon either. It's the perfect sort of rich golden yellow that I love. And so that's going to be the second colour. And it's also in one of my Knitting Expat bags, one of my fruit bags. And yeah, that's being knit on 4mm needles. I'm currently, as like I said, almost finished with the second clue. I'll probably finish that today. And so this is the shawl. This is my first mystery knit along as well. I've never done a mystery knit along before. So I'm enjoying it so far. I've always been a bit wary about joining mystery knit alongs because I'm always worried that I'm not necessarily going to like the finished shawl and stuff like that. So, but I like all of Helen Stewart's patterns, so I wasn't too concerned in that regards. And yeah, so what I do is when there's new clue come out, I knit the clue, but because I'm generally quite a fast knitter, once I finish the clue and I'm waiting for the next one to come out, that's when I will knit on the Dewdrops shawl, which is the first one I showed you. So I kind of have a shawl to knit on at all times. And my third finished project, my third work in progress, is another pair of socks. And this is what they're currently looking like. I love this colourway. Ooh. This is the September Forest colourway by Periscope. I love this, it's so pretty. And these are going to be my birthday socks because my birthday is on Thursday this week, and so I'm a September baby. And yeah, these are September socks, September Forest socks. This is the yarn all wound up, although I'm pulling from the center, so these cakes are kind of collapsing, which is fine. And I just love the colours in the greens, the reds, the yellows and oranges. And I'm thinking of using this green as a contrast teal, which I think will go quite nicely. It's not quite the same shade as in the sock, but I think it will work. I'm trying to find the tag to show you. So yeah, Periscope is on her barefoot sock base in September Forest. And I think I checked her shop this morning, I think she still has a skein of this left in her shop. I don't know if it'll still be there by the time this podcast goes up, but you're more than welcome to go and check. And if you can find it, you should get it because it's beautiful. And this that's being knit on 2.5mm needles, and it's my standard vanilla sock pattern for my foot. And I use the Fisher's Heel. So for me, my standard sock is 20 rows ribbing, about 60 to 80 rows on the leg. That usually depends on what needle size I'm using and who I'm knitting it for. I've got to show you something on this as well. And then heel, and then do the foot as long as I need to, and then do around the toe. Now where the marker is to here is what I knit last night at the movies. I seem to be able to knit around 20 to 25 rounds in the cinema, which means I'm now ready for my heels because I got to 65. I've done 65 rounds now, and I was going to do the heels at 60. I was going to try a slightly shorter leg for myself, but yeah, I ended up knitting past that, and I didn't want to tinker back, so I thought I'd just do a couple more rounds and take it up to 65, because I'm weird about that. Everything has to be in like multiples of 5 if I have a choice over it, so that's what I end up doing. Yeah, and that covers the works in progress. I have a few things up and coming on my needles soon. I have my Marco Polo, which I'm finally going to start. I'm going to take that with me when we go away in a couple of days. More about that later. I'm going to take that away with me and start that. I have another pair of socks to start. I actually have 2 pairs of socks to start, but I'll start with one and the other. I want to knit the Phoenix hat, and I've already picked out the yarn for that one. And yeah, then I've got my sock yarn blanket to get back to at some point, but I'm not overly fussed on when I get back to that yet. Moving on to the fun part, prizes. we had the Sunrays cowl finished, the Sunrays knit along finished on the 7th of September, and so now it's time to draw for the prices. I didn't draw prices last week when I recorded because I didn't have them with me to show you guys, and I wanted to be able to show them to you so you'd see what you're winning, or as a reminder. So the first prize, and I've already drawn the numbers off camera using the random number generator and stuff, just because it would have taken too long to do it on screen as I was recording. So the first prize is this skein of yarn from the yarn tree, and it's in the Fiery Sunset colourway, which was the colourway I used to actually design the shawl, and it's beautifully soft. It's 75 superwash merino, 20% nylon and 5% gold stellina. And you can just about see the sparkle there on screen. It really sparkles in real life. You can see bits of sparkle there. It's really lovely. It's 400 meters in the skein. And so this would be great for sparkly socks, for a shawl, hat, mittens, whatever you want to make with it. And the winner for this one was on the finished objects thread was number 9, and that is Diane, who's Diane47 on Ravelry. She's from Sarasota, Florida, and she knit a gorgeous rainbow version of the Sunrays of the Sunrays shawl. So congratulations, Diane. Get in touch with me on Ravelry. Send me your address, and I will get this out in the mail to you as soon as I can. And I'll probably throw in a couple of other goodies for you as well. And the second winner is going to win this skein of beautiful The Natural Dye Studio yarn in the Chi Marina Bamboo 4-ply sock, and this is Peacock 3 colourway. Now I believe this company no longer dyes yarn anymore, and this yarn is beautifully soft. It would make a lovely pair of socks. And the winner for this one was number 24, and that's Emily Bjorna, Emily from Norway. And she knit a beautiful orange shawl, and I believe she recently had a baby at the end of August, and she only started her shawl on the 1st of September and still finished by the 7th, having just had a baby. So you are truly a deserving winner of this skein of yarn. And so yeah, get in touch with me, send me your address, and I'll get this out to you as soon as I can. Now the third winner of the knit along is going to win a medium-sized project bag by me, and this is an example of one of my medium-sized project bags. And this also happens to be, I have another one of these fruit bags in the medium size currently available in my shop. So that's the only medium-sized bag I currently have available, I believe. You're more than welcome to pick from any of the other bags that I currently have in stock, or if there's none of those that really appeal to you, get in touch with me and we can figure something out with the fabrics that I have, and if there's anything in particular that you would like. And this made me laugh so hard when I pulled this number, because you'll see why in a minute, because number 2 won the project bag by me, and that is Andy of Andre Sue Knits, and she knit a beautiful Sunrays shawl in a lovely sort of like sunset gradient that she dyed herself. And what makes me laugh is we did a swap a while ago where I sent her one of my project bags in exchange for some yarn. So Andy, you've won another project bag by me. So get in touch, let me know if you'd like the medium-sized fruit bag, or if there's a different print you would like that you've seen me show on the podcast or something before. Just get in touch and we'll figure something out on that front. So congratulations to all the winners of the prizes for this knit along. Just get in touch with me and I will send these out to you as soon as you do. And congratulations to everyone. As for the other knit alongs, we currently have a rainbow knit along going, which is going to run until the end of the month, and also the Sept Cal, which is also running until the end of the month. And there will be prizes for both. There are currently three prizes for the rainbow knit along, and there are three. I'm just trying to remember now. There are 3 prizes now for the September knit along. There's one that just arrived the other day, which I will show you next week, and there are also pattern prizes for both for both knit alongs. For the rainbow knit along, Celine, who designs hats, has offered 3 of her patterns, so I will be drawing 3 winners, each to win a pattern from Celine from the chatter thread for the rainbow knit along. And for the Septical, for the September knit along, I will be drawing 3 winners from the chatter thread to win prizes from another designer who's donated 3 of her sock patterns, and for the life of me I cannot remember who it was now, and I feel really bad about it because I didn't write it down. I will remember for next week. Let me just write this down so I don't forget to mention it next week, because I feel so bad that I can't remember, and I can't actually get to my computer right now to quickly check. I'm so sorry if that was you and you're watching, and I really apologize. The next bit of news that I have for you is another giveaway, and this is for the Agatha socks designed by Claire of New Hampshire Knits, and I believe she has a podcast. I think it's an audio podcast, so I haven't actually had a chance to check it out myself, but she sent me this copy of her sock pattern, the Agatha socks. It's beautiful, such a beautiful stitch pattern, and I can't wait to give that a go. And yeah, so she's offered one as a giveaway for you guys on the podcast, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to leave a comment in the episode thread for this episode, and this is going to be your question for the week. Is going to be what is your favorite thing about hand knit socks? Now obviously if you're a sock knitter, you can say, you know, you enjoy knitting the heel, you enjoy the plain vanilla, you enjoy patterns, you enjoy, you know, tell me what you enjoy about socks, hand knit socks. And if you're not a sock knitter, you can still enter, that is if you want to knit the pattern. You can still enter and say, you know, you enjoy hand knit socks because of, you know, they're more comfortable, or you enjoy receiving them as gifts, or, you know, even if you're a sock knitter, you say your favorite thing about hand knit socks is gifting them. Whatever you want, whatever is your favorite thing about hand knit socks, whether it's the process or wearing them or gifting them, whatever. So just let me know, and I will draw a winner from the episode thread next week. And I'm not going to make this a no chatter thread. You can chatter away as much as you want. I will just keep drawing until I draw an answer that is an answer to the question, rather than just chatter, because I'll be chattering away in that thread. Now on to what is going to be my, I guess, big giveaway. So this is going to be my 2,000 subscriber giveaway prize. If I can just get it all out of this box. Okay, I got it all. So hit 2,000 subscribers on YouTube, and I was totally blown away by that, and I really mentioned this earlier, and I was trying to think of what would be a suitable giveaway prize for you guys, because I wanted it to be something special and something that really really meant a lot to me as well to give away. So what I am giving away are 2 of my Mina Makes bags. Well, it's actually one, it's a medium-sized project bag in this orange and blue paisley, which is one of my favorite prints, and a matching notions pouch. And this is quite a sizable notions pouch. You could probably fit like little mini skein projects into this, like if you did a little bluebird of happiness or a bunny nugget or something like that, you could easily fit that project into here. DPNs fit in this quite comfortably. So you'll win this set of matching project bags. You will win this beautiful skein of Dubai Knits hand dyed yarn by my friend Josie. She has the Dubai Knits company based in Dubai, and she's a hand dyer. She's the only hand dyer that I know of in this region at all, and this is a beautiful sort of rich tonal blue with hints of like brown and sort of rusty orange colours in there, and it's called Riverbend. This is on her Luna base, and it's 100 grams fingering weight, 100% superwash merino, 400 yards in a hank. This is so beautiful. I'm trying to get the colours to show up nicely. It is such a beautifully tonal and gorgeous skein of yarn. I've been coveting this yarn and hoarding it and just waiting for the right project to come along, and it kills me to give this one away. But I will be seeing her at some point soon, and I will be buying more yarn from her, and I really feel like someone out there needs to experience this yarn who hasn't had the opportunity to do so far. She does have an online shop, she does sell online. I will put a link to her website in the show notes and in the Ravelry thread, so if you are interested, please do give her a go. She does some beautiful things with yarn, so I want to give someone an opportunity to knit with that. And also it happens to match quite nicely with the project bags. That's just a bonus. Got a little set of stitch markers from Cupcake Crochet, who donated some stitch markers as prizes for the podcast. And I believe there's one with a lobster claw in there as well, which is like the yarn ball, and the rest are just the ring stitch markers with the bead on them in rainbow colours. And again, it had to be rainbow because that's very representative of me. I wanted this package to be quite personal in that respect. And also one of these keychain sock blockers that Andy sent to me in a swap that we did. She sent me, I explained that she thought one of her package got lost, so she sent me a second one. So I'm using some of the contents from the second package for giveaways. And this is, and it comes with the pattern for how to knit a little teeny tiny sock for the sock blocker. And so yeah, so this is going to be the prize package. And that's not all. You will also win the full collection, the full Vida collection of patterns, so the hat, the socks and the shawl when that comes out. This giveaway, I'm going to open up a separate thread for this giveaway, and it will be a no chatter thread, and this is going to be open for 3 weeks until the 12th of October, and I'm hoping and I will draw the prize winner on the 12th of October. I'll draw it just before I start the podcast. So yeah, so you will have the opportunity to win all of this, plus the full pattern collection, which will be gifted to you on Ravelry when it comes out. And the prompt for this giveaway is, what do you want to see and or hear more of on the podcast? Is there anything in particular you want to hear more about? Anything you want me to talk in more depth about? I've had a few people ask me to do tutorials on things, and frankly, as much as I would love to, I feel like there are so many people out there who are better at it than I would be. I don't really feel all that confident in teaching, so and I don't really have the right setup to be able to film a tutorial in a way that I would be happy with. But I may give that a thought at some point in the future. For now, not really. But you are more than welcome to leave suggestions or thoughts on what you would like to see. And you're also more than valid to say, you know, you're just happy to keep seeing what I'm doing. Like, you don't even have to, if you don't have any suggestions, or if there's nothing different that you want to see or hear me do, you can just say keep doing what you're doing, and that is also a valid entry. Sorry, I'm very out of practice for talking so long. And you will need to be a member of the Ravelry group to enter to win. And so yeah, the thread will be open for 3 weeks, and yeah, come join, take part, and you'll have an opportunity to win all of this loveliness. And on to the questions and answer section. So I had 2 questions in the question and answer section to answer this week, and the first one is from Brandy, and she asked, she says, I've noticed a couple of times now that when you're showing off your finished objects, you show the labels, there is a bit of yarn attached to the label. What do you do with the labels? She says, I store my labels without the yarn example in a project book. If you do something similar, would you please let us peek at it? Okay, so what I do, Brandy, is not anything at all glamorous at all. It is literally, I have these 2 folders, and I just stuff my yarn labels with a little sample of the yarn attached into this. That way, in the future, and this probably isn't the best way to do it at all. A book sounds so much more practical than this, and so much more easily accessible. the idea being that there's ever a time when I want to go back and check what yarn it was or whatever, I could just rifle through one of these folders and find it. Like I said, really not the most efficient way of doing this. I generally think a book with, you know, a note of the project name and what I knit with it, the yarn next to it, would be much better, like you do. But this is what I started doing when I first started knitting, and literally every single yarn that I've ever knit with, I have the ball band in here, or at least, you know, if it's more than one skein, I just have one ball band. I don't keep all of them. There we go. That's a little peek at what I do with my ball bands. Nothing glamorous at all. And then the next question I had was from Amber of the Crochet Junkie podcast. Hi Amber, lovely to hear from you. And she asked, I haven't heard you mention it on the podcast, but what kind of music do you listen to? And I haven't mentioned it on the podcast, but I listen to all kinds of music. There's not really any kind of music that I won't listen to, if that makes sense. I listen to quite a lot of mainstream music on the radio, only because I'm never really in the car for that long, so I just put the radio on. It takes too long to faff around with trying to get stuff sorted and put like specific music on or whatever. But growing up, I really liked bands like the Red Hot Chili Peppers and people of that sort of genre of music. But like I said, I listen to all kinds of music. There's no real, like I said, there's nothing really that I wouldn't listen to these days. But yeah, it's nothing really special, to be honest. I don't listen to all that much music these days, just because I watch so many knitting podcasts. There's not that much time for music anymore. But no, I do. I mean, yeah, like I said, I don't really put that much thought into it anymore. I just sort of listen to whatever's on at the time and kind of just go with it. Every now and again I get a song stuck in my head, and then that's like on repeat for 3 weeks until something else gets stuck in my head. That's kind of what happens with me, I think. But I hope that kind of answers your question. Sorry, it's a bit of a crap answer. But funny story, Red Hot Chili Peppers is quite close to my heart for two reasons. Well, two reasons. One reason really. I went to see them perform live in Hyde Park in London years ago now. I was still in high school. And as it turned out, Perry and I went to see the same concert on the same day. We didn't know each other back then. Obviously, we didn't see each other back then either. But we found out later when we started going out that we'd both been at the same concert on the same day. We both really liked the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and their song was actually one of their songs was our first dance song. So if you'd seen the link to our elopement story, there was the song was on that blog post. It's called I believe it's called Hard to Concentrate. So that's, yeah, so I guess the Red Hot Chili Peppers are quite special to me for that reason. But yeah, no, otherwise I'm not particularly fussed on music, really. I enjoy music, but I'm not particularly fussy about what kind of music I listen to. Right, moving on to shop update and the second round of sort of like promotions, I guess, for you guys. I have a discount code for both my Etsy store and my Ravelry store. For the Etsy store, the discount code is 20 off, and that's off spelled OFF in capital letters. 20 off for 20% off anything in my Etsy store until the end of the month. You have, and that code is valid until the 30th of September. You can use it as many times as you want, or you can use it all in one go, whatever. And the same code again is valid for 20% off on my Ravelry store, 20 off, spelled OFF, all capitals, for 20% off all of my patterns in my Ravelry store, and that is valid until the 5th of October. So make sure you go on over and check that out. That's just a little thank you to you guys for being so awesome with this, with supporting the podcast, and yeah, just being really awesome. And I will have a proper shop update hopefully for you guys around the beginning of October. I am working on some bags at the moment, so we will hopefully if I have some done I can show you in next week's episode. Otherwise, it will be I will post some previews on Instagram for you guys. Just a note, I've just finished up doing some custom orders for some people, and thank you so much for being so patient on that front to those of you who have placed custom orders. I thought I would put it out there and explain to you guys a little bit about this. I am happy to take custom orders, but for me, I try to cut my fabric in batches, and I try to do everything in sort of one go, like cutting the outer fabric, the lining, and all my interfacing in one hit, because cutting fabric really takes it out on my back. I've had back problems ever since I was a child. I had a bit of an accident a few years ago, which I could talk more about later if you're interested, but which basically has given me long-term back issues. It's nothing serious, it's nothing major, but it does flare up every now and again, and standing bent over a table cutting fabric is one of the things that will cause it to flare up. So I find it easier to just get it all done in one go and basically suffer through the back pain in one hit, rather than doing it in bits and pieces and then dragging out the back pain over a long period of time. So, and it's nothing too terrible, it is literally just a few hours, but it does take it out on me, and it means that I can't really do much else other than lie down and wait for it to pass and whatever. But I do enjoy making bags so much that I want to keep doing it, so I do. But like I said, what it means is I will cut bags in batches. I will cut enough fabric for about 30 bags in one go, and then wait till I've done those bags and sewn those bags up, and those bags are in the shop, and then I'll do the next batch of bags, which is kind of why my shop updates are a bit sporadic and not quite so regular. But all that to say, if you do want to place a custom order and you put in your request after I've cut fabric, and the request, the bag that you want isn't one that I've already cut fabric for, then it's going to have to wait until the next time I cut fabric, because if every time someone asks me for a custom order I have to pull out everything and cut fabric for just one bag, it's not very practical for me. So I hope you understand, and if you do ask me after I've already cut the fabric, I will put it on the list, and I will cut the bag and make that bag in the next round of bag making that I do. So I hope you understand. It does mean that sometimes it's going to take a couple of weeks or maybe even a month before I get around to it, but if you're not in a hurry, then I can still do custom orders. Obviously, if you're custom ordering a large number of bags or a larger number of bags, then I can maybe do something about that. But just do get in touch with me, and I will always be honest with you about when I will be able to get something made and out to you, because I will never, and the other thing that I do is, if you do place a custom order, I don't charge you until the bag's finished, because like I said, I don't know necessarily how quickly I'll be able to get to it, and I would hate to take money from someone without being able to send it out to them pretty quickly. So that's just a little note to put out there to you guys so you understand, and I hope you do. Moving on to acquisitions, and I think this is the section that most of you have been waiting for to see. I'm going to cut the video and come back to you because I need to rearrange my desk, but I will see you back here in a second. Hi, back again. Probably wasn't a break for you guys at all, was it? Right, so first things first, this came in the mail for me actually just before we left for New York, and it was a little package from the Lemonade Shop. And I don't know if you guys know, if you follow me on Instagram, you might have seen this, but I won an Instagram giveaway by the Lemonade Shop a couple months ago now, I think. And I finally got the prize package in the mail, and I probably should have opened this beforehand. Sorry. Try and do this quickly. So what I won, one of her little cup thingies. I really should have done this beforehand. I am so sorry. This is a little straw. I'm going to take this out to show you quickly. There we go. It says the Lemonade Shop. It's a cute little mason jar style, but it's plastic. Great for drinks. And she sent me one of her little lemonade stickers, lemon stickers rather, and a set of toxic lemon drops mini skeins. And these are awesome. I love the colours in these, and they look really, really fun. They're quite pastel, but these will be going into my sock yarn blanket, so I don't mind. and I think they're fun. They're really fun. So thank you very much for that. To the Lemonade Shop for hosting that giveaway. It's a lot of fun. Sorry, just move these out of the way. And a couple of other little random bits to show you before I really get into the meat of this. I picked up this really cute little tape dispenser and rainbow tape combo in London from Tiger, which is a little, I think it's Scandinavian, little craft store type knickknacks. It's kind of like a mini IKEA but without the furniture, so all the little bits and pieces. They've got lots of little craft supplies and stuff, and I saw this rainbow tape and cloud dispenser from the window, and I was like, I have to have it, and dragged Perry into the shop with me. They also had a rainbow umbrella, which I really wanted to buy, but Perry just looked at me and was like, what are you gonna do with an umbrella? And it wasn't even one of those like really fold away small ones that I could justify just having in my handbag. It was a proper full-sized like brolly umbrella, so I didn't buy it. But as a few people have since pointed out to me, I could have claimed it was a parasol to keep the sun off my face, but anyway. So I picked up this one, and then I saw they had this tape and I had to buy it because what's a cloud tape dispenser without some raindrops? So some raindrops tape, so you can decide whether you want to have rainbows or rain depending on your mood. And they also had this mustache tape, which I thought was really cute, and I had to get some of that too. And then after I got back and I posted this picture on Instagram of the tape, and I was just like kicking myself, why did I not get more to use for giveaways? Because that would have been really fun. But yeah, so I sent my mum back to the shop and she's picked me up a couple, so those will be coming to me soon eventually, I hope, and I'll be able to use those for some giveaways in the future. And another thing that came in the mail whilst we were away, and this sort of showed up a couple of days ago, and I was so excited about these because I'd ordered these, and I'm not entirely sure why I didn't think about doing this beforehand, but I didn't. And I ordered these just before we left. And I'm so excited. Since the boys are so popular on the podcast and everyone loves to see them, I thought I would get a little something that I can include in packages and like swap packages and stuff that I send out to people. So I got little postcards made, the boys on them. So this is some of my favourite pictures. I just got 4 different types done. So there's this one. There's this one. This is when they were still little babies. And look at that Dougal. Look at that tail. He's got like a proper little stripy tail. And then there's this one, which I love these 2 pictures of them. And then Derek with his tooth. So cute tooth. And this one, which is another favourite of mine. But the closest I ever got to getting them to wear clothes is a bow tie that I made for them. And the only reason they kept it on was because Perry was distracting them with treats. But it's so cute and they look so adorable and so handsome in their little bow ties. But yeah, so those are little postcards that I'll be sending out with swap packages and stuff in the future. So for those of you who love the boys, keep an eye out for those. And I mentioned briefly on the last episode that my dad's jumper didn't quite fit him. It was a bit of a shame. I mean, it did fit him, he could put it on, but it was a little bit ridiculous. So we decided that he's going to give that to his brother, my uncle, and that's more than fine by me. And what I did with my dad was just before we headed to the airport on the Sunday to go to New York, I sat down with him and pulled up some yarn options, and he picked out this Cascade 220 Superwash in this, I believe it was called chocolate. I think it was like a chocolate brown colour. And it's colour number 819. I think online on Love Knitting it was called chocolate. It's 100 grams, 200 meters worsted weight yarn. Superwash, because for my dad it's going to have to be superwash in case he does the laundry. And yeah, it's perfectly soft, it's perfectly lovely. And I've got 8 balls of that, so more than plenty for his size. And what I'm planning on doing is, I'm still planning on doing a top-down raglan style, or just a top-down, doesn't have to be raglan. Top-down sweater with a sort of crew neck collar. And it's got to be one of the kind that, you know, the neck is higher in the back than in the front, rather than just even all the way around, because he wouldn't wear that style. I'm still trying to find one, but I want it to be top down so that I can start it and get it to the point where I'm going to separate for the sleeves, and then I'm going to wait until I go back in November to get him to try it on before I knit further on it, because that way I can make sure the size is better for him. I didn't have a chance to measure him before we left, so I think that's going to be the best way to do it. Right, so moving on to acquisitions from the US. Now what I've decided to do is I'm going to split this up into bits and show you a little bit every week, just because there is quite a lot, and we've really sort of, yeah, it's going to take a while to get through everything otherwise. Just a quick disclaimer here before I get into this. I did have a bit of a budget set aside for when we were going, and then I also had birthday money from my family and from Perry's family and from Perry as well. Perry and I, we don't really do presents anymore for each other because it's quite difficult for us to surprise each other with anything, and it's what we tend to do is we set like a budget for presents or whatever, so neither of us goes too crazy, and then what we do is we go shopping with each other for whatever the other person wants to get, which is kind of a way to just spend quality time together, and also you know, just going shopping together is quite nice sometimes, to just hang out and go for a nice meal and whatever. So we kind of did that a little bit the first couple of days we were in New York, but I didn't want to spend all my money straight away, so I kind of spread it out over the whole week. So like I said, I had some money set aside already, and then I had a bit of birthday money as well, which is why there's quite a lot this time around. There will never, I doubt there's ever going to be this much again. Just putting it out there. So first up, I'm just going to show you, I showed you last week what I got from Lion Brand, so I'm kind of, sort of, not really, going somewhat chronologically here, as I went to Pearl Soho after, so like on the second day we were there, and I went back again on the Saturday before we left. But my husband was supposed to come with me to Pearl Soho. So let me just get these out so there's no crinkling. Right, out the back. My husband was supposed to come with me to Pearl Soho, but he had to leave to go to his to meet someone for something to do with his course. And unfortunately, I was stood there in the store for about an hour with complete decision paralysis. And I'm not sure if I mentioned this last week or not, but by the time I got to the store, I needed the toilet, and I was stood there, and I was like, "It's okay, fine. I'll look around," that sort of thing. And then I had it in my head to ask them if they had a toilet to use, but as soon as I walked in, all that just went out of my head, and I was just like, yarn. And I just pulled out some different options and colour options. I was looking at things, and I just sort of stood there and I was staring at the yarn, and I just couldn't decide. A couple of the people who worked there came up to me, started chatting to me and asking me if they could help, and I was just like, no, I'm just trying to decide. I must have looked really ridiculous because I was just stood there staring at stuff on the counter that I'd set out, and I was so paralysed with the choice that it was so hard. Anyway, I made a decision in the end, and I walked out the store. I bought a few skeins, and then later decided a couple of them I wanted to change. So I went back on the Saturday and exchanged those for a couple of different skeins. So the first two skeins that I picked up are the ones that I'm using for my Summertide mystery cowl. So the Madeline Tosh Light in Candlewick and Cove, and I actually ended up getting a second of the Mad Tosh in the Candlewick colourway because I love this colour so much, and it seems to be looking a little bit more green on my screen than it is in real life. So it's a really lovely golden yellow colour. I'm just not sure if that's my lighting or not, but it's a really pretty golden yellow. And I ended up getting 2 skeins of the Pearl Soho brand, their line weight, which is kind of like a light fingering weight. It's 494 yards in each skein. And this is the oyster grey. I thought this is really pretty, and it's really soft. It's a lovely single ply. I think it's 100% merino. Yeah, 100% merino wool, and it's hand wash only. And I also picked up a skein of their heirloom white in the line weight as well. Again, I'm trying to make sure I pick up some neutrals to go with all the crazy colours that I have in my stash already, and I think I've now got a good base of neutrals. I've got quite a few neutrals up there now, and I've got some neutrals in single ply, which is what I wanted. I had specific things in mind for these, so I'm quite happy with that there. I also went to Knitty City twice. I went once with Tonya on Wednesday, and I went again with Sarah and her sister Adrienne, who I met up with on the Saturday. I briefly told you about this before. We went on the Saturday. I'll sort of talk all about this again in the week in review section, but just anyway, so this is 2 visits worth of purchases, and again, most of these had purposes. I got these 2 skeins of Madeleine Tosh Light. So this top one is in Baroque Violet, which is this beautiful sort of tonal blue with hits of purple, shades of purple in it, which is really pretty. And I got this skein of Lolita, which is really sort of like bright fuchsia, purple, pink colour. You know what? I say I don't like pink, but the shade of pink that I really like is like a fuchsia, pink verging on purple colour. I really like this, and this is very close to the colour of the lining that I use in a lot of my bags, like the pink lining that I use in my bags, in some of my bags anyway. I really like this colour, and I think these 2 go so well together, and I quite like it with the candle wick. Just show you. So I was thinking these 3, get this set up in a way to show you properly. These 3, and I had this already in my stash, which is Mad Tosh Light in Turn. So these 4 together for an exploration station. It's a shawl I've been wanting to knit for a while now, and I want to knit it sometime soon. I think these 4 will go quite nicely together, with this grey as being the in-between colour. I really like it. So I think that's what this is going to be. So like I said, I went on this trip. I bought what I bought I had a list before I went to the US. I created a list of yarns that I wanted to, either the yarns I wanted to try and projects I was buying for, mostly projects I was buying for, because I really didn't want to be just randomly buying stuff for the sake of it and not having an idea of what I'm getting it for, because that makes me really anxious when I don't know what I'm going to knit with it. So yeah, everything I bought, I had a purpose for it. There were a few skeins that I've just bought because I love them so much and I thought they were really beautiful, but the majority of what I've purchased on this trip has a purpose. Yeah, oh, and I completely forgot to mention, so with this cascade yarn, I ordered it online, like I said, just before we left, and it came whilst we were in New York, and my mum just brought it to the airport when she met us on our way back through. I also picked up this skein of Manos del Uruguay Alegria in this, what's the colourway called? Pindo A8855 Pindo. It's just really fun and variegated, and this will probably become a pair of socks at some point. It's 75% superwash merino, 25% polyamide. It's just really fun, multicoloured, and I really wanted to try some Alegria. It's always quite expensive for me to order it online, so getting it in person was definitely a more affordable option. And Carrie from the Freckled Whimsy podcast had sent me a small mini skein of this, which I knit into my sock yarn blanket and into my Frankenstein Rose City rollers that I knit up, and I really loved it, so I really wanted a skein of it for myself. And I also picked up a couple of unicorn tails, Madeleine Tosh unicorn tails. The bottom one is the Cathedral colourway, and the top one is Flash Dance. So 2 more shades of purple, which I really love. I got Twist Light, Mad Tosh Twist Light in the, I think it's called, yeah, Filtered Light colourway, which is really beautiful. I was looking for the Modern Fair Isle colourway, but couldn't find that anywhere. But I really like this one as an alternative. Colourful speckles in there, which was really nice. So there's that one. I'm not entirely sure what this will be used for yet, but I think that was one of those I really liked it random purchases. And I also picked up this skein of Jaeger spun spinners of natural fibre since 1898 from Springvale, Maine. So this is a Maine yarn. And it's a beautiful lace weight in the steel colourway. And it's 50% wool, 50% silk. It's their Zephyr lace base, 100 grams, 1120 yards. That is a lot of yardage in this skein. And I'm not entirely sure what it's going to be yet, but it's going to be a beautiful lace project. I'm sure it is going to be beautiful. And that's what I got from Knitty City. We had a really good time. I had a really good time at Knitty City the first time I went earlier in the week, and then when we went back on the Saturday, and everyone was really lovely, really friendly. When we went back on the Saturday, again, most people were really friendly. I think it was also partly to do with the fact that it was the weekend, so it was busier. But also, I think the woman that I had tried to ask for help a couple of times was either had a lot on her plate at the time, or was just not in a really good mood that day. But she didn't seem particularly friendly. And she was different. She was a different person than was there during the week, and I don't know. She kind of didn't leave me feeling too, too welcomed, if that makes sense. Everyone else who worked there, who I dealt with and spoke to on that Saturday, was perfectly fine, perfectly lovely. But this one lady just seemed a little bit, I don't know. I think maybe she was just having a bad day, and I don't think that's necessarily indicative of the customer service there anyway. I mean, it was fine in the end. I found everything I wanted. It's just she kind of left me feeling a little bit like, oh, okay. Like I almost felt like I was bothering her, but she was supposed to be there as help, I guess. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Then on the Wednesday when I was there, I told you guys that I met up with Kristen from the Villain Wine podcast, and we went to Brooklyn General together, or I met her there, and let me just open this bag so it's not making too much noise. And yeah, we spent a lot of time at Brooklyn General just chatting, having a really good time, really got on well with her, and yeah, we spent a long time chatting away about stuff. I picked up these two skeins of Mad Tosh sock in, it's called Blackcurrant. I love it's washing out a bit there. It's a really lovely sort of rich tonal variegated purple, and I have a plan for this one which I will explain to you in a second. Really lovely. I also picked up these three skeins of Shibui. It's the Shibui Cima, C-I-M-A. I think it's basically their sort of lace weight, I guess. It's 300 meters per 50 grams, which is kind of a lace weight. These three colors. I was thinking for some sort of gradient lace weight project, shawl type thing. Haven't quite decided, but there's 900 meters of it here, so more than enough to do a decent sized project. The final thing I picked up, which I almost completely missed and didn't even see until the very end, and we'd spent so much time, Kristen and I, talking about, you know, what sort of colours we're naturally drawn to, and you know, both of us are really drawn to purples. I'm really drawn to, like, you know, greens and purples, and lately I've been sort of veering more towards trying to get more red and yellows into my colour scheme. And I was saying we were talking about I sort of mentioned how I think there are like two kinds of people when it comes to colours. Like some people, in terms of neutrals, some people are naturally drawn to like the cream, beige, brown range of neutrals, and others are drawn more towards like the greys and blacks neutrals. I'm very much a grey black neutral person, but I really do want to get more into, I find brown is a difficult colour for me because I never really wore brown growing up. My mum never dressed us in brown for very specific reasons, which I won't go into now, but so I've always found it hard to wear brown unless it was shoes. So And I was saying to Kristen as well, other than brown, I'm really trying to get more blue into my stash, because I don't have a lot of blue in my stash, but everyone tells me when I do wear blue that it really suits me. Like, I have this navy dress that I'm wearing now, and every time I've worn it, I always get compliments on it, on how it suits me and stuff. So I'm trying to be more conscious of picking more different colours than what I always normally gravitate towards. So when I saw this skein of yarn, I was like, this, and I showed it to Kristen, and she was like, that's just perfect, that's you. And it's this skein of Dreaming Colour Smooshy. It's called Dusky Aurora, and you see it's mostly blue, but it's got very, and I don't know how well the camera's going to pick this up, it's got very subtle shadings of green and purple in there. So I thought that was perfect. It's got the green and purple that I gravitate towards, but it's a lot of blue as well. And it's called Dusky Aurora, and I love the Aurora, so I had to get that. And then there was one more on the shelf. I couldn't leave it on its own, it would have been so sad. So I got 2 skeins of Dreaming Colour Smooshy in the Dusky Aurora colourway. I think you might be able to see it better on this one. Different tonal shades of greens and purples. And this is a really decently sized skein. There's 450 yards in each skein. So together there's 900 yards. I'm thinking of probably making some sort of top, something that I can wear with this, rather than doing a shawl or socks or anything like that. I think I'm gonna make like a short sleeve, sort of like t-shirt style top with this, and I think the subtle variegation will work well with most patterns. It's not overly variegated, so even if I did something with a bit of lace in it, it would still look nice. So that was my haul from Brooklyn General. like Kristen said, I made out like a bandit. I did buy a lot of stuff, but again, everything I bought had specific ideas in mind for it. It wasn't just a random skein here or there. I had very specific thoughts for each one. And then on the Saturday, the first place we went to when I met up with Sarah and Adrian was we went to Gauge Intention. And I'm going to show you what I actually bought at Gauge Intention another time, but Kristen gave me a little package to bring back, something for me and something for you guys. And it was just quite funny because we first got there, so we did a little browse round. I was looking at Kristen's yarns and they're all so beautiful, but there was this one skein that I saw that I picked up, and I was sort of just sat there cuddling it as we were sat around this little table, and yeah, and I was just sort of like cuddling it and stroking it. I was like, I love this yarn, this is so beautiful. And it was the last one on the rack, and yeah, so I was kind of like I said, just sat there holding, we were chatting with other people and stuff and sort of just mulling it over. And again, I knew specifically what this was going to be for, and it was something I needed as part of to go with other yarn, which again I'll show you in a second. And just as I was sort of thinking about maybe going to pay for everything I'd picked up and come back and sit down, Kristen was like, just wait a second. She ran off and she came back with this bag, which is now really crumpled because it's been in my suitcase. This was not how she gave it to me. And she was like, there's a couple of skeins in there, one for you and one for you to use as a giveaway. And I was like, okay. And she's like, you'll see what I mean in a second. And so I opened it up and I pulled out this skein of her Enjoy the Silence colourway. And this was the skein that I picked up from the rack, and I was sat there stroking and cuddling so much. So obviously Kristen knows I love purple and green. If she didn't know from the podcast already, she knew because I'd gone on about it for so long when we were at Brooklyn General. So she was she did well there with that one, and I was like, yeah, that's the one that I'm keeping for me. I went and put the other one back because it was the last one on the rack, and I thought it's not fair for me to take both. Someone else should have the opportunity to knit with this beautiful colourway. So that's the skein of Wool and Vine yarns that I got. It's also got her button on it. Ooh, there we go, Wool and Vine yarns there. And she also added a cute little stitch marker, like a lobster claw seahorse stitch marker there, which is really fun. And this, sorry, let me hold that so it doesn't rattle so much. It's going to match with this you see where I'm going with this. And I have another grey that I've bought, which is in another section I'll show you another week. And these are all going to go together to make a hoodie shawl. And I cannot remember for the life of me who the designer is for that pattern, but it's a relatively new pattern that was released, and I really love the look of it. It's really interesting construction, and I think that's what this is going to be. It's going to become a hoodie shawl. And I'm sure you guys are waiting to see what else is in here. Kristen was so generous and she included a skein of her Stella Banshee colourway on the Blitz base, but also with a button. Ooh, look at that. Look how gorgeous that is. And it's, I don't know if you can see the glitter, the stellina. Oh, there you go. You can see a bit there. So this is one of her really popular colourways, and this is going to be a giveaway in the future on the podcast. I'm going to stay tuned for that. I have a really a very specific giveaway planned for this one, so I'll have to wait for that. And she also included some really lovely teas for me to try. Some licorice spice, which I know is some of her favourite, and some pucker love, which is rose, chamomile and lavender. So that should be fun. So we're looking forward to trying those out. And that is it for this week. That is quite a lot already. And like I said again, I went on this trip with a very specific idea of what I was going to buy. And there is quite a bit of Mad Tosh that I've bought, and there is still quite a bit of Mad Tosh that I haven't shown you yet. There is a very good reason for that as well, and I will explain. I didn't realise this until I got to the US, and I kind of had a feeling that this was going to be the case, that it's going to be cheaper over there than it is in the UK, but I didn't realise how much the difference was. So the difference in price for Mad Tosh yarns between the UK and the US, at least for their fingering weight yarns, is about 30%. It is 30% cheaper to buy Mad Tosh yarns in the US than it is in the UK at the moment. Between 20 to 30% on average. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of difference. So maybe that will give you some perspective as to why I got as much as I did. And one other thing, I was gifted by the lovely Chris from House Yarn and U University, the lovely French Outlander shawl pattern by Tanya Marie of the Sampler Girl podcast. So thank you so much, Chris. That was so sweet of you. And Tanya, I'm so excited to get to try out your pattern soon. So hopefully once I get a few things off my needles and get a little bit of free time, that'll be something I'll be casting on at some point. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to space out my acquisitions over a few weeks, just because I'm getting stuff like swap packages and things that I had signed up for beforehand have started to come in, and so I kind of want to just sort of space things out over the next few weeks. So and I'm not planning on really buying anything else over the next until I go to DC in Fiberspace, but I have more than enough to space out to show you guys until then. Next week I'm going to show you the stuff that I got and was given when I was in London. So it's going to kind of be my birthday acquisitions episode. The gifts and stuff I was given for my birthday, because my mum and my parents-in-law gave me some really lovely fibery related presents, I should say, for my birthday, and got some stuff at Loop when I met up with Leah, and I got a couple of swap packages, so that will be next week's episode. And on to week in review. This is going to be a very long sort of week in review section, so if you guys are not that interested, then thank you very much for sticking with me. I really appreciate it. This is a very long episode, but you know what? I've given up trying. It is what it is. Enjoy it. And if it takes you a few attempts to get through the whole thing, then so be it. It takes a lot of the time when I watch podcasts. It easily takes me 2 or 3 sessions before I actually get through the whole podcast, especially the longer ones. Even some of the shorter ones, I don't even manage to get through the whole episode before I have to stop in the middle to go do something and come back to it. So it's just the way it is. And you guys seem to enjoy the longer episodes that I do, so I am going to keep going with it. So my week in review. So after I left off last week, I recorded my last episode on the Thursday morning, of the 10th. And after I finished that, I got it all set up to start sort of processing, and then I had to head out to New Jersey to meet my boss. And the head office for the company that I am still employed by is in New Jersey, and just over the Hudson River, I believe. And so I went there, went to the office, met the people that I work with technically over email, and got to meet them in person for the second time. And yeah, we went out for lunch, and then I stayed in the office for a couple of hours afterwards to help out with a few work matters that needed to be sorted out, and then headed back into the city in the afternoon. Thursday in general was a relatively relaxed day. Other than going into the office for lunch in the afternoon, I didn't really go out at all. I headed out again later in the evening to get some dinner, but otherwise I was pretty much in bed resting because I really needed to rest my leg. Then on the Friday, I think I also mentioned I was going to meet up with Stephanie. I did meet up with Stephanie and hung out with her for the day, with her and her kids, and they were so adorable, and it was so lovely to finally get to meet her. I'd heard so much about Stephanie before I went from my friends in the knitting group in Dubai, and she left Dubai just before I joined the knitting group, so I never got a chance to meet her beforehand. And so yeah, it was so lovely to see her and to make another knitting friend. I genuinely think on this trip has been all about making new knitting friends, and it's been great. I've really enjoyed that about it. And we hung out for the day, and then later in the afternoon we went down to around like near the Brooklyn Bridge and the Manhattan Bridge, and there's a couple of parks down there. We went down there with the kids in the afternoon, and just it was a really lovely day. And then later after when I said goodbye to them there, I walked back to Manhattan over the Brooklyn Bridge. I'd never done that before. I'd always wanted to walk over the Brooklyn Bridge, but I'd never done it. So I was like, I'm here now. It's really easy. Rather than taking the subway back to Manhattan, I'll walk over the bridge. And that's what I did. And I did film a little clip, which I will put in at the end. I've got a few little clips from walking over the bridge, a little bit on the subway, and some footage I shot at Pearl Soho and Gauge Intention, which I will put into a little montage at the end of this episode. I have to say I didn't film as much as I was hoping to film while I was there, mainly because I think for me still filming things is still relatively new to me, whereas since I was 16 and first got a digital camera, photography has always been what I've done, and I've taken loads of pictures, and I've always taken lots of pictures. So to transition from thinking about taking photos of things to thinking or remembering to film things is it's not quite there yet for me. Like it's not second nature to me. But I did remember to film a few bits, so I will put that into the end of this episode for you. And yeah, so Saturday was the major epic day of walking. I met up with Sarah and her sister Adrian at Grand Central in the morning when they came down from Connecticut. It was really lovely to see them. I chatted with Sarah quite a bit over Instagram and stuff over the last few months, and so yeah, like I said, she came down with her sister Adrian, who's recently started knitting, and we were hanging out for the day. And Sarah was so generous in letting me use her address to have a few things sent to her. So my new ball winder, which is a Stanwood Needlecraft ball winder, which is beautiful and winds yarn amazingly, I had sent to her. I ordered some yarn from Knit Picks, which I also sent to her, and I did a little swap. I bought some yarn off D-Stash from someone, which also got sent to her. So thank you so much, Sarah, for hauling all that stuff down for me. And I think I'd somehow forgotten how much stuff it was, so when she showed up, and I was just like, oh wow, I still have to fit all of this into my bag as well. But she also ordered some things from the UK and had those sent to my parents' house, and I brought that over for her as well, because I figured that's the least I could do. So yeah, we met up and we went back to my hotel, switched stuff around, dumped stuff there, and then we headed out for the day. We headed out to Gauge Intention first, out in Greenpoint, Brooklyn, where we hung out with Kristen and from Vullenvine and Yarngasm podcast, and with Maria of the Subway Knits podcast, and all the lovely people who showed up there that day. It was a lot of fun. I had a really good time, and I just want to say thank you, Kristen, for including that Periscope at the end of your last episode. because then I got to see myself be really awkward in the background of your video, I didn't actually have time to watch the Periscope within the 24-hour limit that you have before it went away. So I kind of thought I got away with not seeing how awkward I was, and then there it was on the end of Kristen's last episode. So yeah, see me there saying awkwardly waving like that. Anyway, it was so much fun to hang out with Kristen and Maria and everyone else who came that day. We had a lot of fun, and then we headed back. Then Sarah, Adrian and I headed back into the city. We headed to Pearl Soho, and then so we had spent a bit of time there. Brooklyn Tweed were having a trunk show at Pearl Soho that weekend, so there's a bit of that footage in the video clip at the end as well. And then we stopped for some lunch somewhere along the way before we headed up to Knitting City. We spent quite a bit of time in Knitting City, and I think Knitting City is quite a small yarn store compared to Pearl Soho and sort of like Brooklyn General, but it is packed with yarn. There is yarn everywhere. I would say it is probably the most disorganized yarn store I've ever been to, which is quite difficult for me when I like everything to be neat and tidy, but it was also quite fun as well, if that makes sense. It made it difficult. If you were looking for something very specific, it would be quite hard to find exactly, because their Mad Tosh yarns were spread over like 2, 3, 4 different places, so it was quite difficult to sort of like pinpoint exactly what you were looking for. So I would say that about it. It was a fun experience. I did enjoy going in there, but I would definitely not call that an organized yarn store. But it's fun. It's chaotically fun, if that makes sense. And then after that, we headed up to the Yarn Company, which is like 2 blocks away from Knitting City. And they have some beautiful yarns. They have some really interesting like indie dyed yarns as well. They try to sort of like, they stick with mainly sort of the smaller indie dyer brands and stuff. So they had some interesting things as well. And by the time we had done all of that, our legs were literally about to fall off. And so the girls headed back to Grand Central, and I headed back to the hotel, and literally got some dinner on my way back and didn't leave it. No, I didn't get dinner. I headed back to the hotel, and Perry came home. Perry got back relatively early because it was his last day of classes, and we went out for dinner together. We went for some Japanese food. There was a place around the corner near Times Square that Perry had been to before, and we headed there. And you know, all in all, it was a really good day. But and then we checked out of the hotel Sunday morning, left our bags there, and sort of just went for a wander up to Central Park. We spotted they were filming the latest Ghostbusters sort of remake movie along 7th Avenue that we were walking up towards Central Park. So we got to see some of that, which was fun. And we went for a little wander around Central Park, and then headed towards like Lower Manhattan, met up with a friend there for lunch. And then after that, we just sort of headed back, picked up our bags, and went to the airport. And that was kind of how we spent our last day, which was really lovely. It was really nice and sunny weather. It rained a bit towards the end, but it was fine. But sort of that last day, my leg was really starting to twinge. So for those of you who don't know, I broke my leg at the end of last year, and I now have like a metal plate with 5 screws in my leg, just above my ankle on my left leg. And my leg was starting to twinge a little bit. So if I'd been sat still for a while, I hadn't walked around much, it would twinge a bit, and after a few minutes it would wear off and I'd be fine. But since getting back, it's sort of, the twinge is permanently there now. So whenever I walk, it's pretty painful. It's not particularly comfortable. I mean, it doesn't hurt to the point that I can't walk, but sometimes I notice I'm walking with a bit of a limp, or it's not quite so comfortable. It's worse if I'm walking around barefoot. So I either have to wear my Birkenstocks or my trainers to give me enough support for my foot to walk without it being too bad. So I have an appointment to go see a doctor tomorrow about that. Hopefully get some answers as to why that is the way it is. It may just be that I walked too much. I've mentioned this before, if I walk more than a certain amount, I get really bad leg pain afterwards, but I need to figure out a way to get past this and actually sort of get back to being better. Anyway, we got back to Heathrow. We had a few hours layover in London, and we had to change terminals and stuff. And my mum came to met us at the airport, brought me my extra suitcase, which was full of goodies already from London, and took us to the other terminal and stuff. There was a little bit of a mix-up. I got the dates a little bit confused, and unfortunately my mum and my brother had come to the airport the day before, and I got a text message from my mum being like, "Where are you? We're here." And I'm like, "Oh, we're still in New York. We're not going to be there till tomorrow. I'm so sorry." That was entirely my fault. I got the dates all jumbled up in my head. I spent the whole week thinking the dates were something different than what they were, and anyway, so I must have got myself completely confused and told my mum the wrong thing. So apologies for that. But she managed to come on the right day as well and pick us up and stuff, which was great. We finally got back here Tuesday morning at 4:30 a.m. having left New York on Sunday night. We were knackered, we were tired, neither of us had really slept all that great on either of the flights, and but the boys were so happy to see us. They were all over us when we first got home. Hugo's been sleeping on the bed every night since we've been back. Derek has been super demanding during the day, wanting all the attention. And we have a road. We now have a road outside of our house, which is amazing. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but the road just outside of our compound when we first moved here, and I guess for several years beforehand, was just like a sandpit for about 50 meters one way and 20 meters the other way, so like as a little junction. I don't know what. It's a long story, but anyway, it was like a sandpit, and they were starting to work on it before we left. And I said to Perry, wouldn't it be great if we came back and there was a road? And we came back and there was a road, and it's amazing, and it's so smooth, and it's a road. It sounds ridiculous, I know, but until you've had to deal with a dirt track sandpit road for 6-7 months, it's every time I went out, I was worried about doing damage to the tires of our car, because the car that I drive isn't a giant 4x4. If it was a 4x4, I wouldn't be so concerned, but we've got low profile tires on our car. That's just what the car comes with, and I was really worried about damaging them. Anyway, as you can probably tell from what's going on behind me, I am in the process of reorganizing my craft room, and I'm still in the process of that. Probably won't get around to finishing the whole full reorganization until after I've finished showing you all my acquisitions, because frankly I can't really organize stuff until I've done that. We went to Saudi Arabia on Friday for the day. I had to go to renew my exit visa, which sounds ridiculous, I know, but we made a day of it. We went to IKEA and picked up a few bits. I picked up that shelving unit, and I picked up another sort of like a stack of like these mesh trays and like this little stand thing, which I've now made my Mina Makes packing station, which is great, very efficient. Although I had my stuff spread out all over the place, and it's nice to have all my Mina Makes bag stuff in one place, which is great. But yeah, I'll probably talk more about our Saudi trip and stuff next week. I've already chatted so much this time round. I did have a go at dyeing some mini skeins with food dyes yesterday, and I still have a couple of mini skeins to dye up today. But again, I will talk to you guys about that next week. And in 2 days, on Wednesday, we are headed to Oman for 6 days, which is so exciting. I mentioned this a couple of times before that we were going to Oman. It is Saudi National Day on Wednesday, and then from the 24th it is Eid al-Adha, and 24th also happens to be my birthday. And Perry's company are closed for a few days over this period for Saudi National Day and then for Eid. So he's got a bunch of time off, so we decided to make something of it, and we booked a few days away at the Shangri-La resort in Muscat in Oman, and we'd stayed there for a couple nights before, a few years ago when we went, and we loved it so much. And I think I mentioned this before, it was like the most relaxing holiday we'd ever had. And this is more for Perry than for me. Obviously I love the place and I'm more than happy to go somewhere to relax, but he's had a very stressful few months with work and with studies and stuff, and he's not been sleeping well at all lately. so he really needs to recuperate, so properly relax and rest a bit. We're really not lay by the pool beach kind of people, but I think he really needs that kind of a holiday right now. And I've got my knitting to keep me occupied and plenty of podcasts to still catch up with, so I am not worried at all. I will probably be podcasting from there next week. We leave on Monday afternoon, so I may record something on the Sunday and have it uploaded and ready to go on Monday, so I don't have to worry about that. We don't get back here till Monday evening, so it wouldn't be practical to try and do it on Monday. But so stay tuned for that. Thank you so much to everyone for sticking with me. If you are still watching the podcast at this point, thank you for sticking with it. I really appreciate it. Come join us in the Ravelry group. We're a very friendly bunch and it's a relatively chatty group. So come join in the fun. And I look forward to speaking to you guys next week. Take care. Bye.